touch grass.
Feet don't touch fucking grass.
Nobody knows when or where the phrase touch grass first emerged, but since the mid-2010s, it has been the go-to thing you say when a person posts something so disconnected from reality that you wish, for their own well-being, they would just log off. But why grass? It is the commonest plant, covering more ground than any other. Grass clings along curbs and needles up through pavement cracks. Shaggy by the side of the highway, close-cut and professional on a baseball diamond. Lawn owners meticulously trim it week by week in the summer, like a flock of suburban Sisyphuses, plural might be Sisyphi. Leftists online say lawns are an affront to biodiversity, a heritage of settler colonialism, one of the several things people of the future will find incomprehensible and perhaps unpardonable about our time. Walt Whitman's book is called Leaves of Grass, and his great poem Song of Myself begins with, I celebrate myself and sing myself, and what I assume you shall assume, for every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. I loaf and invite my soul. I lean and loaf at my ease, observing a spear of summer grass. There's a great picture of this scene, which is probably the most famous instance of touching grass in world literature, on the cover of the Old Penguin edition of Leaves of Grass. Walt Whitman never had the chance to browse the internet, he would have loved it, but he was always touching grass. Later in Song of Myself, he writes, A child said, What is the grass? Fetching it to me with full hands. How could I answer the child? I do not know what it is any more than he. I guess it must be the flag of my disposition, out of hopeful green stuff woven. Or I guess it is the handkerchief of the Lord, a scented gift and remembrancer designedly dropped, bearing the owner's name someway in the corners, that we may see and remark and say, whose. I always loved that handkerchief of the Lord image, with the implication that God is hitting on you, because what else does it mean when an 1800s lady drops her handkerchief? Walt sees the divine living in the smallest, commonest things, like grass, always growing and increasing regardless of where it is planted. Walt goes on into one of my favorite passages in the poem. Or I guess the grass is itself a child, the produced babe of the vegetation. Or I guess it is a uniform hieroglyphic, and it means, sprouting alike in broad zones and narrow zones, growing among black folks as among white. Canuck, Tuckahoe, Congressman Cuff, I give them the same, I receive them the same. And now it seems to me the beautiful uncut hair of graves. Grass is language, a hieroglyphic that means, but the object of the verb means is left artfully unclear. The sentence's grammar would suggest the hieroglyphic of grass means, I give them the same, I receive them the same. In which case, it's almost like grass dialogue, but there are no quotation marks. Or I guess it might be a kind of implied imperative, like the grass's growing habits mean Walt should give and receive all people the same. Or I guess if that giving and receiving is something the grass says it's doing, then the grass's eye is getting muddled up in Walt's eye. Could bro literally be the grass? And if grass is language and the poet is grass, then the poet is language, and the poem is called Song of Myself, so the poem literally is him. Walt Whitman cooked here. Whitman, writing during slavery, praises the grass for growing among black folks as among white. And there's that lovely chain of cuh sounds. The grass is for Canadians, Canuck, but it's also for Virginia plantation owners, Tuckahoe, for a congressman, and for a slave, Cuff, a term which derives from the literal instruments of bondage. Grass gives them all the same, receives them all the same, and that receiving implies burial. Grass will take in everybody's body after they die. I keep returning to this sense of grass as language, sprouting everywhere and from the mouths of everyone, old and young, free or not. It isn't a rose that you would call beautiful or a tree that you would call sturdy, but a thing you walk across each day, a thing that grows like a weed and grows equally, for all people and places. It isn't a cash crop you harvest, and it doesn't have a clear use beyond its steady presence and how good it feels to loaf around in it. Whitman writes grass poetry, not rose or tree or cash crop poetry. His lines are rhymeless and in plain cadences, normal speech. The meaning of grass must be this sense of plain decency, this knowledge that all the intellectual contortions, passionate declarations, and hopelessly niche rabbit holes won't make a place where one can truly dwell. Our constant clutching for possession, for correctness, for status means nothing. The grass, which is the beautiful uncut hair of graves, reminds us that we all will die. The grass, which is the spirit of democracy, reminds us that we are one. Grassy words are the words which matter, which do things in the world. Flowery words and fighting words are just overcomplicated air. Language spoken to be understood, saying what matters neatly and honestly, with empathy and equanimity. That's what you should be posting. Touching grass is not merely an activity, but a way of life. All other things, the discourse, the platform, the screen, are instruments of unfreedom. They are the suffering hearts clutching at straws. Last week I was in an art museum and saw this Buddha statue, and noticed his right hand, which is reaching down to touch grass. The posture is the Bhumi Sparsha Mudra. It is the moment when Sakyamuni Buddha, after sitting underneath the Bodhi tree meditating, reaches down to the earth so it may witness his enlightenment. It is the moment that Buddha defeats the demon king Mara and achieves nirvana. An online encyclopedia of South Asian art, which I visited, and it's one of my favorite sites ever, says, "The gesture is thus understood as a symbol of unshakability, of moral triumph over temptation and evil intention, and of the liberation of the spirit from its worldly trappings. Accordingly, it is also linked with mastery over one's senses and emotions, emphasized in Buddhist teachings as the means to achieve true awakening. The earth is always your witness, the grass is always there, sprouting alike in broad zones and narrow zones. Touch it."